Every Sunday at 5 p.m. Studio B for Strange Universe. Every Sunday at 5 for Strange Universe.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Are you a fan of rock and roll? Does it get your feet tapping and your hands clapping? Then be sure to check out Crip Rick's Rock and Roll Hour every Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern and Standard Time on Studio B right here at RevolutionRadio.com, where we get down and talk all things rock.
This is the People's War. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, by all the apparatus, not to make it stop. That's the way you take it, go run it, go on it, and unless you're saying the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me.
Revolution Radio.
Tune into Revolution Rango, Studio A for Omnium Gatherum, a kaleidoscope of discussion, Thursdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 p.m. only at Revolution Radio.
Tune into Revolution Radio, Studio A for Omnium Gatherum, a kaleidoscope of discussion, Thursdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 p.m. only at Revolution Radio.
The spice extends life. The spice expands consciousness. The The spice is vital to space travel. Travel without movement.
Welcome, Earth Explorers. This is X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is where the past meets the future. And in here, the results are always positive. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us as we endeavor to treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. This is the voice of the revolution. And we are streaming to you live with our good friends at Revolution Radio on freedomslips.org, the #1 listener-supported network in the entire country. We're also streaming to you live on several video platforms on Rumble and YouTube and Twitch and X and DLive and Foxhole and Truth Refugee, all at the same time. Miracles, miracles, all. And we welcome all of our friends in the chat room. It's so many. I can't name them all. I will try because I like to recognize all you guys for being here. Johnster67, that's a new one. I haven't seen that before. Yes, I know Dearborn, Michigan is about to be a shit show. You got that right. Yeah, there's going to be more than one shit show as we near Christmas. JCW is here. Amity 223, Big D 1955, long time listener. Cromwell's here. Boy Dogs 2 is here. Happy Wednesday. That's right. We like Wednesdays. Wednesdays are a big audience. Maybe it's because we had Toxically Masculine Tuesday last night and we primed everybody. But hey, we try to do what we can do to keep the voice out there. Let's see. Stanley Mays is here. What is that? Oh, you've been working up in Detroit. You live in Toledo, just south of the border. Gotcha. East Coast 20s here. Tatanka Dave. Excellent stuff. And Mojo Psalms is here. And the important thing is that they're listening from Makawa'u, Maui. And this is cool. We like being part of the island. Graminon's here. Thank you so much. You know, it's the effort that you make and the comments you make when you come out every week. And I really appreciate you listening to the program, Graham. Let's see. Distant Sight is back. This is good. Yeah. I'm just trying to read and go as I go through here. Bayonet is here. Yeah. I'm with you. Cherokee Drifter's back on YouTube. That's good. Tell all your friends on YouTube. You know, we used to have 20,000 listeners on YouTube. We still have subscribers, but they don't get the notifications anymore. So we don't know if they're listening or not. Ann Coates is here. All right, this is good. And on Foxhole, Rasta and Pool Duder here. It's a little skinny on Foxhole, but it picks up. Let me tell you, it's a great platform. Pilled does a great job putting it together. The best of the best are on Foxhole. I am humbled and highly complimented to be part of the community there. Thank you so much, guys. Brent 1520 is here. And K.O. Kelly out in Vegas. This is good. So I have several things I want to cover. But first, I want to pay tribute to James Rink, who's a friend of mine. Been a friend for a long, long time. I guess ever since I got into this genre 2.5 decades ago. Hard-working man. Everybody has their shortcomings, and I'm sure James did too. But, you know, we shared the stage so many times, so many years. sometimes he didn't have the money, and he would ride with me to locations. He's a neighbor. He lives right over here. Well, he lived right over here till he passed away last week. And it's interesting as I have listened to the super soldiers over the years, Andy Basciago and James and others, that they talk about this secret space program and that they were part of a 20-year out and back program where they actually were teleported out, served for 20 years in their capacity, and then came back. And because of the time dilation of the teleportation process, they return at basically just a little bit older than when they left. But we have aged a lot. So when you look at James, you see, and I always did too, a young man, but experience well beyond his years. And what does he die of at the age of 45? A heart attack. He dies of an old man's disease. And look at Andy Basciago. He is not dying, but he's blind from what? From macular degeneration. This is a disease of someone 70, 80 years old, only Andy's not. That 20 years is still there in their life. We just don't see it because of the time dilation of their service. So maybe it's not a joke. You know, these people aren't willing themselves to die, but they're 20 years older than what they appear to be. And such was the case with James Rink, my friend. And I celebrate his life. It's not sad that he's gone. I'm happy that he lived and I was privileged to be part of his life. All right, let's move on a little bit. I have this series I'm now calling Snap Goes the Weasel. Our U.S. Agriculture Secretary is such a winner. Her name is Brooke Rollins, and she announced this week that the U.S. Department of Agriculture is going to halt all of their federal funding to states, namely the 29 states that refuse to share their data on the SNAP rolls just to help them root out fraud. 21 states did share their data. Oh, wait a minute. 29 states shared their data, and they were able to discover a lot of dead people, a lot of people that lived in other states, a lot of people that are illegals that were receiving SNAP. And the crazy thing is that we, the people, we were pretty much clueless. Even if we followed the program pretty closely, we knew there was some fraud. We knew there was some waste. But we didn't know there were 43 million people on SNAP. We thought there were 18 million, which is about what there has been on SNAP for, since the earth cooled. But where did the other 25 million people come from? Well, they're all illegals. And the trouble is that the states that are feeding these people and then asking for federal reimbursement for doing so, they're all have huge blue cities in them, and they're laundering the money through to their political operations. You always want to know how these down ballots get their money in the first place. These people don't campaign. They don't reach the people with any kind of message. They buy ballots. Well, where do they get the money to buy it? Well, they get it from these corrupt government programs. So during a cabinet meeting, which, by the way, the last cabinet meeting of the year, Trump has already had more cabinet meetings in 1 year, way more, than Biden had his entire 4 years. It's crazy how many. And the cabinet meetings are televised, and we get to see them, and we get to hear the cabinet members, and it's great. It's really, really great. It's the way government should function. Lots of light, lots of public appearance. But she highlighted the accomplishments of the USDA, and she spoke about the fraud the agency had discovered within SNAP, which, by the way, takes away from all the other programs that they do. Takes away from farmer relief, takes away from seed subsidies, all these things that our farmers and agriculture community need to battle big ag. And I hate to say it, but the USDA has always been behind big ag, and it's refreshing to see otherwise. But she also shared that in February, states were asked to turn over their data to the federal government to let the USDA partner with them to root out fraud, and only 29 states had shared their data. 21 said none of your business, and 2 of them, California and New York, sued the USDA just for asking. And I heard one of them saying today, "Look, this is private information. We can't share this information." And the federal government was saying, "Look, we're the ones writing the damn check. Okay, we're writing the check. We want to know who's getting it." The states don't have a leg to stand on. But the third thing, we have so many things to talk about at the USDA. But the third thing, which became very much part of the national conversation during the Democrat shutdown, was SNAP reform, food stamp reform. When all of America saw, which so many of us know and have been working on, but when you have so much rampant fraud in a program that 42 million Americans participate in, it's supposed to be only 18 million Americans. I know they talk about 42 million Americans, but it's not. It's only 18 million Americans. It's 24, 25 million non-Americans, foreign-born illegals who are receiving food supplements. Food supplements, I guess that's what we call it. Rollins continued to share the good news that since President Trump became president, 800,000 of the 42 million people have been moved off of food stamps because now they're earning enough money that they can pay for their own food. And they added that the agency had found 186,000, believe it or not, very hungry, very gluttonous, dead people. Yeah, dead people's Social Security numbers being used, and 500,000 people getting benefits more than once. They were getting food stamps for 2 people. Yeah, 2 households. So they asked for the states to turn over their data. 21 of the states said, up your ass. We're not telling you nothing. But also to ensure that the American taxpayer is protected, 29 states said yes. All the red states, the states with mostly red cities in them, very few blue cities. But the states that have blue cities in them, like California, New York, Minnesota, the blue cities dominate their population. They said, no, we're not doing that. So during a recent interview, Rollins spoke out about how 186,000 deceased men and women and children in this country are receiving a check. And they said that this is just data from those 29 red states. Of course, that's been fixed, right? Those dead people now are going to have to get along on their own. They're going to have to find their food somewhere else. Can you imagine when we get our hands on the blue state data, what we're going to find? It's going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I praise Secretary Rollins, and I think that she should stick to her guns and make sure. And she's also said that everybody on SNAP, everybody currently on SNAP, you have to reapply. Now, it can be done quickly. You can come into the office. We'll send a social worker to your house. We'll look at your household. We'll look at your living situation, and we will reassess. And by the way, if you're not a citizen, that's it for you. There's the exit. I'm with the East Coast 20. I'm just saying, yay. Who's against that? And when you hear the news media say, well, you can't kick 25 million Americans off of food stamps, we're not kicking Americans off. We're kicking illegals off because it is illegal for illegals to receive food from SNAP. That's not what it's there for. That's right. All right. I'm in support of it. Somebody told me the other day, Brooks, you shouldn't complain that Trump's not doing this or not doing that, or Pam Bondi's not doing this or doing that, or Kash Patel's not doing this or doing that. You're an influencer. You should be raising hell. And we know from history that when we at America Free Radio go viral, that is to say, when lots of people pick up what I'm saying and share it, mighty things happen. Look at Irina Zarutska, okay? This Ukrainian refugee who came here, got a job in Charlotte at a pizza place, and had a boyfriend, and her life was looking good. She was young, she was beautiful, she's smart, she's hardworking. Yeah, sure, she's catching the American dream. She's starting out at a pizza parlor, but she's going to end up going to school and being bright and being successful. She had her whole life ahead of her. The only mistake Irina made is Irina got on the blue line after dark, and she's white. You don't ride the blue line after dark if you're white. Everybody knows that here in Charlotte. It's become so dangerous, so dangerous. And so she gets on the train, minding her own business, gets into her phone, sitting in the front row of one of the sections, waiting for her stop to come up. And this murderer behind her opens his pocket knife, stands up, and stabs her 3 times across the collarbone right here. And she dies right there in the seat, all on camera. And it was senseless. It never needed to happen because DeCarlos Brown had been arrested over 14 times for violent crimes. He didn't need to be on the street. Even his family said, you don't need to let him out. But the magistrates were under orders from our crooked Democrat governor, Mr. Josh Stein, and he was released back out in the public where he brutally slaughtered Irina Zarutska. Well, that's only part of the story because that took place on public transportation and it was filmed by the transit authority. But the mayor, her name is Mayor Vi, that's all we're going to call her right now, Mayor Vi, she's wanting to win her primary for her 4th term. So she suppresses the film. She orders the film not to be shown to news media. Well, guess what happened? Somebody at the transit authority, after a couple of weeks, said, this is not going to fly. This girl was murdered on our train. So they showed the film, and I saw it. And we talked about it that night. And it went viral. It absolutely went international viral. Well, the pressure was on Pam Bondi, and she responded. She filed federal charges, and DeCarlos Brown is still in jail. He's not been released, and he's probably going to face the death penalty. They're probably going to execute him next year. Relief, finally, for society, because DeCarlos Brown is going to be put to room temperature and no more Irina Zarutskas. In fact, the law that was implemented brings criminal charges against those corrupt magistrates of Mayor Vi if they release another killer out on the streets and they kill again. Yeah, the magistrates themselves will go to jail. It's required now to have bail, and it's required to have a damn good reason to let them out. So that all happened because of America Free Radio. It all happened because we, as an influencer, applied the pressure to make that happen. So my friend says, you don't need to complain, Brooks. You need to scream louder. Because the administration listens. They do listen to us. And if we talk about something powerfully enough here on this program and in eloquent enough terms, they listen and they will act, but only after they thoroughly believe the public is with them. They're not going to act on their own. That's what we've seen over the last year. Even Trump is afraid to act on his own. Right? He has to sit back and play 5D chess. He can't make these emotional moves just because he feels outrage. He has to know we're behind him. So I'm speaking to you, President Trump. I'm speaking to you. Make sure that these 21 states pay. Make sure that they give the information, and let's get these illegals off. And let's take care of business and save America. All right, my second story tonight I call On the Road Again. This is crazy. You know, those of us that have been in industry, we've consulted with the Fortune 100. It's all about supply chain. It's about getting your stuff in, getting it done, doing whatever it is you're going to do with the supplies, creating your finished product, and getting it shipped out. The right packaging, the right drayage. Drayage is fixtures or special fittings to be able to hold your finished good. Like if you make automatic transmissions, or you make tier 2 or tier 3 parts for a jet engine or for an engine or for something. You don't just put it in a box or a baggie and ship it. It has to fit onto what we call drayage, a special bracket or a special cage to hold it steady while it's being shipped. All that stuff has to be calculated. All that stuff has to be estimated. All that stuff has to be maintained. But the one thing we've always taken for granted is the professional behind the wheel. Years and years ago, they came up with the CDL, right? The commercial driver's license. It's different than your license. That thing you went to the DMV and took that stupid little test about changing lanes and hand signals and signs and checking your eyes. That's child's play compared to a CDL. A CDL, they realize you got 80,000 pounds in your hands and you're whipping it along at 70, 80 miles an hour. We'll do the math. That's a lot of kinetic energy. It's a lot of kinetic energy. And if you're on the freeway driving and you notice there are trucks around you, got to drive in between them, around them, behind them, in front of them, you have always assumed that the guy holding on to that rig is experienced. He's a professional. You can trust him. He's not going to change lanes and run over your car. He's not going to be distracted and miss hitting the brakes and roll right over you and kill you. You trust the professional driver. But that trust has been violated. That trust has been violated by corrupt organizations. I know, like, corrupt organizations are in everything, but when a corrupt organization turns out a guy or a girl who can't handle a truck, who shouldn't be behind the wheel, just because they were able to pay the bribe, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We're at risk. Society is at risk. And it's not a little problem. Did you know that 33%, not 3%, not 0.3%, 33% of Minnesota's non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses, these CDLs, they were reviewed in a recent audit by the Department of Transportation, which can be pretty thorough and pretty powerful, the DOT is. They were illegally issued. 33% of the CDLs were illegally issued in Minnesota. What the holy hell? Where are these trucks? They're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're all over the freeways, all hours of the day. You don't know where the danger is. And the review was conducted by the DOT's Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, that's known as the FMCSA. And it was part of the Trump administration's crackdown on unqualified non-citizens endangering Americans on the road. Why did they conduct this? Because we screamed loud enough. We said, what are these guys doing driving a truck? Do you remember when 9/11 happened? You may not remember what you were doing. Maybe you were too young, but I think most of the people listening to my program are old enough to remember what they were doing on 9/11. There were a couple things that we noticed in the days after 9/11, before the Patriot Act really got cranked up, before our rights before we really realized that our rights had been taken away from us. For one thing, there were a lot less airplanes in the air. Like you could look up and you didn't see any contrails, let alone chemtrails. Planes just weren't there. And the other thing that happened is the roads. The travel centers, I had several friends that worked in travel centers like pilot stations, TA stations, Loves, these big centers that are truck stops. We call them truck stops. In those days we did. Now everything stops with, 76 pumps and that. But the issue is that my friends who worked in this industry noticed that we had a lot of Arabs driving trucks. And it wasn't just the box trucks, it was the fuel trucks. It was trucks with chemicals like toluene and MEK and alcohol and, ethylene oxide, dangerous shit. And they're driving it on the highways. So I used my influence at that time. I had a radio program. I went on the air and I talked about it. And I said, hey, I think we have an exposure here. We could get hit again. And this time it could be really devastating. They could attack bridges. They could attack water supplies. They could do all kinds of crazy stuff. And so in the years that followed, all the way up until about 2016, they were implementing these programs to review the people that were holding the CDLs, who were driving the trucks, especially the hazardous materials. Where our plant was, we had several rail spurs, and the rail spurs, they would park tankers and store them, until they were needed. And some of these were ethylene oxide. This is a badass precursor for a lot of different reactions. But if you blew one up, it would be devastating. It would be like ammonia, only worse. And they were just sitting around, and so what happened was about 6 months after I did my expose on it, Homeland Security showed up and they mounted cameras up on the pole, cameras to watch those tankers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then evidently they had an issue because they built a fenced-in area of the rail spur, and they moved these ethylene oxide cars, there were about 20 of them, up to 20 of them. They moved them into this fenced-in area, and we're talking 20-foot fences with barbed wire on the top and the cameras. So it was very hard to get in there, and if you messed with the fences, all hell was going to come down upon you. And we had a locked facility anyway. So there were actions that were being taken to keep us safe. You never knew about it because we headed off the danger before it happened, okay? But now we have not 5%, not 10%, not a quarter, but 33% of the individuals getting behind the wheel of a 80,000-pound truck or tanker in Minnesota are illegals, and they're frauds. They paid $3,000 to some company who rubber stamped them a license, and out on the road they go. Yeah, it's scary shit, isn't it? So the federal government has given Minnesota 30 days to come into compliance and revoke the illegally issued CDLs, or they're going to lose up to $30.4 million in federal highway funding. Like Minnesota would even care. Look at what they're ripping off. But officials wrote that Minnesota now has two choices going forward: follow the law or lose the funding. Our audit exposes yet another example of foreigners taking advantage of Minnesota's services under Governor Tampon Tim Walz's watch. Minnesota failed, and he's probably somebody in his government is getting a kickback from those licenses. Minnesota failed to follow the law and illegally doled out trucking licenses to unsafe, unqualified, non-citizens, illegals, endangering American families on the road. And by that, I mean people are dying every day at the hands of these drivers who do not know how to handle situations in traffic. They can't read. They can't speak English. That abuse stops now. Under the Trump administration, the department will withhold funding if Minnesota continues this reckless behavior that puts non-citizens gaming the system ahead of the safety of Americans. And of course, Tim Walz is screaming about racism. A letter was written, very stern letter. Oh, I'm sure they're scared of that. The DOT is now demanding that Minnesota execute a corrective course of action, including a pause on the issuance of non-domiciled CDLs and identifying all unexpired non-domiciled CDLs that failed to comply with the regulations. They're everywhere. They don't go back to Minnesota. They get that license in Minnesota. They move to Oklahoma. They move to Texas. They move to these areas where truckers are needed and nobody asks any questions. Minnesota is openly and blatantly defying our rules, plain and simple. And they're doing it for the money. They're doing it for the money. Under the Trump administration, states have two choices: meet our standards or face the consequences. And you know what's going to happen. Trucking is going to cost more money. Not because diesel fuel's gone up, not because the cost of trucks has gone up, both of which are still high, but because the cost of the driver is going to go up. The latest review of Minnesota is part of DOT's overall nationwide audit of CDLs after foreign truckers were accused of causing deadly crashes in several states, not the least of which is California. Federal and state authorities arrested 250 foreign commercial truck drivers just in November. Just in November. And what do you think they say? Well, I have a license. I mean, I can drive. Yeah, well, you can't read English. You can't speak English. And you can't operate the truck. You couldn't possibly have passed your license. Yeah, JCW, that's right. We call it JIT in the biz, just-in-time inventory, because the issue is that manufacturers, whether they're tier 1 or tier 2, and they're getting their goods from a tier 2 or tier 3 supplier. In other words, somebody's making the subcomponents for the thing that you make, and the thing that you make goes to the assembly plant to be put in. That's the assembly plant. So you're a tier 1 supplier to the assembly plant. Well, the issue is that for several reasons, and we drive this through a program we call Six Sigma, of which I am a master black belt, we try to lower the amount of unprocessed inventory because, well, two main reasons. One is engineering changes. For instance, wiring harnesses or headliners or carpet or mirrors or whatever. There's a slight change. Oh, we need to make a little change, a change in the color, a change in the fitting, a change in this hole or whatever, this port, a change in this connector. Oh gosh, what are we going to do? We have 14,000 of these things on our location and now they're all obsolete. That's called obsolete inventory, and that's why we try to reduce the amount of inventory on site. And the second is, of course, that it is a liability. It's a liability, and somebody's paying interest on that inventory that's in the system. So here's what you want. You either want raw materials or finished goods. That's all you want. And all you really want is enough raw materials to get through the day. We call that a kanban. Well, actually, the Japanese call it a kanban. And we adopted that process, and it saves a lot of money, and it's actually a lot faster to manufacture. So that's where the just-in-time comes. And oftentimes what happens is we have a sorting warehouse, or what we call a recontainerization location. So all the bulk stuff comes from the boats or the trains or whatever to this recon, and the recon divides them up by color. Like, okay, here's all the green headliners, and here's all the gray appliques, and you know what I'm saying? It's all divided by color. And in the drayage, a rack or a fixture or whatever that goes to the factory, that is going to be used by the factory. And that takes labor to take the bulk orders down and divide them up into the color order that is being done at the assembly plant. They don't just make all gold cars on Monday. They don't make all black SUVs on Wednesday. They're divided up based upon the orders that are broadcast from the paint house. Well, they know that order days in advance. And so they send that order to the recon operation, and they put all of the mirrors, all of the steering wheels, all of the dashboards in color order, the way the vehicles are going to come out of the paint plant in a few days. So when that drayage arrives at the plant and they set it down, and the worker has this green, emerald green Cadillac Escalade in front of him, he turns to his left, and lo and behold, there's an emerald green mirror, and he puts it on the vehicle. He doesn't have to sort through black and white and pearl mirrors to find the green mirror. It's the green mirror is ready to go. It's already been done by the sorting. Now you see what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, lower inventory. He doesn't have 12 or 16 different colors of racks he has to go through to find the part for that car that's only going to be in front of him for about a minute and a half. He turns, that color's right there, and it's good to go. It doesn't stop the line. And that all relies on trucks. Long-haul trucks, short-haul trucks, the trucks that handle just the drayage back and forth, they make 10 stops a day at the plant, 24 hours a day, and drivers with CDLs have to operate all that stuff. There's always a shortage of drivers. It is not the easiest job in the world, but it does pay well. You could make anywhere from $70,000 to $110,000 pretty easily driving a truck without having to drive long distance. Husband and wife teams make team drivers, both get their CDL. They can drive across country. It's a rewarding life. It is, if you don't step outside your responsibilities, like unloading and loading the trucks, you're just the driver. You rely on the dock people to do the hard work. You can do it for years and years and years, but truck driving is tough physically on your body too. All that jerking back and forth and the stress of having to stay alert all the time, 8 hours, 10 hours while you're driving that truck. So that all has to be handled, and that's why the CDL is so important. And that's also why the demand is so high, and the opportunity for illegals to step into the system and beat the price is there. And these states are taking advantage of it. All right, let's see here. That's a good question. Do I believe there's a city of telos underneath Mount Shasta? No. The one thing that all the genres know about me is I am not a believer. I'm a scientist. I have to rely on data, and that has to be reliable and repeatable data. It has to be third-party verified, and I have to see it for myself. And even sometimes after I see it, I have to repeat it. I got to verify it, validate it, use more than one instrument to measure it. But here's the deal, Earth Explorers. When Brooks Agnew says it's real, by God, it is real. And I have had an open call for over 20 years. Any aliens from other worlds that are here on this planet, when you want to tell us where you're from and why you are here in person, come with me. Come to me. We will go out on stage together in front of the world. I will guarantee you safe passage onto that stage and safe passage off of that stage. And you can tell your story. And here's the deal. Unlike Grush or Greer or any of these other grandstanders that have made themselves rich off of innuendos, when you come out with me, the world will know it's real. The world will know it's real. Why? Because Brooks Agnew's not a believer. I'm a scientist and I only deal in facts. And that's why, as far as I'm concerned, there's no telos under Shasta. And I've been there as many, probably more times than you. I've hiked all over that mountain. I've made films on that mountain. I've met with everybody, talked with everybody, meditated with everybody, sung with their drum circle with everybody. Trust me, there's no telos under Shasta. They've made a ton of money off of it. I'm happy for them. I can't fault them for a direct observation. I can just not lend my endorsement. So, no. As far as Brooks Agnew is concerned, there's no telos under Mount Shasta. Yeah, Big D, they're starting to crack down on the trucking schools, but it is not the trucking schools. It's not the trucking schools. These outfits are always going to pop up, and they're going to be providing certifications for this, that, and the other thing, except for maybe brain surgeon. But it is the corrupt government system that allows them to function. Because these fake CDL schools, they could not exist. You know, Omar's CDL school could not exist if it was not for the corrupt politicians that were getting the kickbacks. That's where the trouble lies. The trouble lies with the city council. The trouble lies with the county commission. The trouble lies with the state representatives and state senators, and yes, ultimately, the governor. Right. Well, that's the way I see it. And maybe that's why I'm not invited back to a lot of conferences, because I'm not a believer and people can't go, oh, sing along with me. But I can tell you right now, if you see one of my presentations and you see the factual scientific data and information that I present in one of my presentations, you won't be a believer. You'll be a knower. You'll be a knower because you'll have the truth in your hands. And that's what I'm all about. All right, let's talk a little bit about the moon race. This story has fascinated me for a long time. And there are sane and we consider intelligent people out there who still believe we have not sent a man to the moon. So Jared Isaacman, you know, once you reach a certain status in life, nobody can tell you shit. You know what you know, and you know what you don't know. And you know the difference. And nobody can bribe you. Nobody can change you. And Jared Isaacman is one of those guys. He knows, and he knows that he knows. And President Donald Trump has appointed him twice to lead NASA. And he said it was his goal that the United States beat rival China in the race to return humans to the moon. And in a meaningful way, not just fly up there, put some instrumentation down, gather a few rocks, get in the tin, get in the aluminum can, and fly home. We've proven we can do that. We're talking about establishing a lunar base of operations, and not just to look at the stars or to talk on the radio, but to mine, to do something functional and profitable and valuable for Earth. And that's going to take a lot more, because we're not talking about going up for 36 hours and coming home, just enough oxygen to breathe to get by and a little reserve and come home. You got to be able to regenerate while you're on the moon. Now, that's going to take several things on the moon before we put humans up there. And the race is there because of the wealth that is on the moon. There is a helium-3 deposit on the south pole of the moon, the South Pole region being called Schrodinger's Basin. And inside of Schrodinger's Basin are several large craters. One of them is the Shackelford crater, which has frozen inside of it about a Mount Everest size pool of frozen helium-3. Way more than we would have ever on Earth. Earth has no source for helium-3, but the moon does, and it's been gathering it for 25 million years from solar activity and freezing in that crater just for us, just set aside for us Earthlings. So the race is on to see who can get there first and who can core drill it, and then ultimately fuse it together to make helium-4. It is a legitimate reaction. It is also a reaction we have never been able to accomplish on Earth. We have gravity that we're fighting. We have atmosphere we're fighting. And the larger the chamber, the harder it is to do. The magnets are horrendously powerful and require geometries, impossible geometries to control the plasma. But on the moon, it would be way less, orders of magnitude easier to do on the moon because there is no atmosphere and there is way less gravity to mess with or to interrupt the process. And the issue is that we don't have a lab there. We don't have a facility there to do it, which means all that stuff has to be built here, shipped there, and set up. We're talking, if we did it under emergency powers, it would take us 10 years. Just telling you. Even if I was in charge of the program, it would take us 10 years to get it done because of the scope of what has to be set up and where it has to be set up. You don't just drop down on the surface Elon Musk style and make this big moon base, with all these solar panels looking up at the sun. It doesn't work that way. You get micrometeorites coming in at 20, 30,000 miles an hour. It'll rip all that stuff to shit in no time. One solar storm would wipe you out with protons. You wouldn't survive. People wouldn't survive. Your solar cells wouldn't survive. Nothing. So it has to be built inside the moon. It has to be built inside the volcanic ducts, the passageways inside the moon. And there are a plethora of them, and we've mapped some of them from the surface using IR. We need to put some crawlers up there, and we need to map and photograph these things from the inside. That's another year's project to do, right? To get that information back, to know how big these areas are on the inside and what they look like. And then you get with companies like Bigelow and other companies like that to make inflatable habitats. You suck all the air out of them and crunch them down really small, fly them up there, get them in place, move them around and stuff them into one of these vents, and then inflate it. And when it inflates, it seals itself against the sides. That's obviously going to take some work to do. Creating an airlock. And then on one side of it, you have a pressurized environment. On the outside, you have, space. You get spaced. And then you pressurize that area, and then you use the water that's in the soil, and there's a lot more than in some places on Earth, to make oxygen and light. Right? You make fuel and you make energy and from water, and you pressurize it, oxygenate it, get it to about 8 or 10,000 feet of pressure on the inside, and now you have a habitat. That's going to take some time to get done, right? But you'll be protected from all the bad things that happen on the surface of the moon. Micrometeorites will never hurt you. Proton storm from the sun will never hurt you. You're going to be under several hundred feet of regolith, which is more than enough to contain an atmosphere and not a full 14.7 pounds per square inch like we have here on Earth, but somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000 feet altitude maybe. And now you can bounce around in a T-shirt, and you now have a lunar base. And the issue, and I've brought this up numerous times in my book, Asteroid Mining, The Future of Energy. If a country does this, they will control the world. If a private company does it, it's going to shift the economics of the entire planet forever. And we'll never go back. I mean, never, maybe 10,000 years. Because there's a 10,000 year fuel supply sitting on the moon. And one thing we have right now, and I discussed this on Sunday, what is going to consume 90% of the electricity that we figure out how to produce on this planet in the next 20 years? AI. AI is going to eat that energy up. You're not going to be able to build a 40 megawatt, a plant that needs 40 megawatts of energy. Not going to happen. AI is going to need that energy. And if we don't provide that energy for AI, someone else will. It'll be China. It'll be Europe. It'll be some of Japan. Some other country will, and then they will dominate the planet. So this is the pressure that we're under. And as I said, the first one to the moon accessed that power supply of the helium-3 in the Shackelford crater on Schrodinger's basin, which is the south pole of the moon. They're going to control the solar system. That's the dream. And Jared Isaacman right now, he's 42 years old. He's a billionaire entrepreneur. He's a private astronaut. He's a close associate of Elon Musk. And he appeared on a rare second confirmation hearing that followed Trump's renomination of him in November for the top post at the U.S. Space Agency. No, I'm too old. I'm 70, okay? I don't have but 10 good years left in me. Isaacman is the guy. He's 42. He's 42, and he's already been in space. He knows more than me. He could use me, of course, but I think he's the guy. Isaacman told senators that if confirmed for the job, he would ensure the success of the Artemis lunar exploration program, which was started in 2017 during Trump's first administration. In 2018, I wrote the book, Asteroid Mining, the Future of Energy. The latest, greatest information about Space Force and about Artemis and about the Gateway program is all in that book. I made it in color because it's breathtaking. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. It's a book for your coffee table. America will return to the moon before our great rival, and we will establish an enduring presence to understand and realize the scientific, economic, and national security value on the lunar surface. I believe him. His nomination, first announced after Trump won the 2024 election, then withdrawn in April 2025, and again reissued last month, reflects the president's on-again, off-again relationship with Musk. I think it's a test of egos, I think, but ultimately you get past that. I have to say for a moment that this feels like a Groundhog Day, Senator Cruz said, chairman of the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, as he opened the hearing. I would love to go speak before that committee. I could make everyone on that committee a believer. Trump's decision to withdraw Isaacman's first nomination took place as the president feuded in the spring with Musk, and I think it was generally a public feud, don't you? They appear to have reconciled their differences. That's the one thing, that they are very smart, and smart people do reconcile their egos. It's been 53 years, allegedly, since humans last landed on the surface of the moon. In a Cold War space race with the Soviet Union, the U.S. last completed that feat with its Apollo 17 mission in December of 1972. And I'll believe it when I see it. But maybe we've been back to the moon since then. Maybe we haven't, if you believe in a secret space program. My friend James Rink believed in it. We had long conversations about it over the years. We had long drives together. So listen, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back after and we'll discuss it some more. So hang in there. More America Free Radio right after this.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back.
Tune in to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
The rooster has crowed out the opening bars of a new day. You've dragged yourself out of bed. You turn on your device. You want to know what's going on in the world. But you're hungry for a topical show that serves up those breakfast headlines just that little bit differently. Do you like your early morning news the way you like your eggs over easy? Served with slathers of salsa-like sass? Do you like those first headlines of the day to deliver a punch as powerful as that first cup of joe? Join Mitchell Bupp at his breakfast table for Revolution in the Morning, where he will digest, dissect, and dismantle those new day's national and global news headlines with razor-sharp relish. Find Mitchell here at revolution.radio every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on Studio B.
Through everything, we have to remember that we have more in common than not in common. And to find this common ground, tune in to Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A. Because we come to this table of life to learn in the best possible way and experience this gift of life from our mutual Creator. So let's learn together and build our best future with Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Mission 1. As we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in, and I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We shall never surrender.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for hanging in there while we took that short break. Now back to America Free Radio with host Brooks Agnew here at Revolution Radio.
All right, thanks so much, Revolution Radio, for that great station identification. We would be nowhere without your type board. It really, really compliments us, and we appreciate you. Those of you listening by audio, and there are millions of you out there listening through Orange Radio and iHeartRadio and TuneIn and TalkStream Live and all the downstream stations, we appreciate you. We would be non-existent without you. We will also want you to pay attention to the source of this material. It's called freedomslips.org. Freedomslips.org. You have had money taken from you for decades for outfits like NPR and Against Your Will, and all kinds of propaganda has been purveyed at your expense. This listener-supported network is the largest in the country, and it can only exist because of you. So if you go to freedomslips.org and make it a regular donation, $1, $2 a month, believe it or not, if 100,000 of you did it, we could absolutely save the world. Forget about changing the world. We already have that world. We can save the world if you help support freedomslips.org. That's how it's done. One small contribution at a time. All right. The rest of you watching by video can see where we're at. We're at my website, americafreeradio.com. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and we're going to click on Brooks Agnew's homepage. So those of you listening by audio, all you have to remember is we're going to go to brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. And you'll know you're at the right place because, well, it won't look like that. Hold on a second while I reboot that page. It should say, I'm Brooks Agnew. This is my website. Oh, that's not working well at all. I don't know what happened. We've been hacked again. How about that? But we're going to visit my shop anyway. Easy enough. And we're going to click on the health and aging icon. I don't know why my background's not showing up. DV must be having some issues. But you're going to notice right away ivermectin and fenbendazole. One thing that's missing is the hydroxychloroquine. It's true. I'm about 2 weeks out from being able to have more of that. So if you've ordered HCQ since the beginning of November, you're probably still waiting for your order. It will come in the next 4 or 5 days to me, and then it'll take me 4 or 5 days to get it to you. And then I will start reoffering HCQ. Right now, I don't offer it because I can't ship it on the website. But the ivermectin and the fenbendazole we can do. And I don't know why the website's not fully functional right now. That's got me confused right now. It's got to be a problem with the theme. This is just something that occurs from time to time when you have a website. But you can get the ivermectin and the fenbendazole from me. I will fix this minutes after the program. Don't you worry about that. Everybody knows the combination of these two meds, what they can do to fight things like cancer. The True Niagen is awesome. It's the number one, well, it's the oldest source of True Niagen, of NAD on the web. And the nicotinamide riboside is what gives you the renewed mitochondria in your system and allows you to have a strong heart, a strong mind, and smooth skin and endless energy and stop aging. I've been taking it since 2018, and I have not aged since then. The Insulis, I have it right here, and I take it twice a day. I've already had it once, but I might as well do it since you guys are here. It's pretty simple, just a few drops under the tongue, and that's it. It absorbs directly into the bloodstream and helps you with your insulin resistance and lowers that A1C number. All right, let's get back to it because we got stuff we have to talk about here. I'll fix the website. Don't you worry. It'll be live again, and you'll be able to order. Those of you that have repeat orders, you already have the link, so you don't need it off that website. But for people that are just listening to us for the first time, that's how you do it. All right. I want to talk a little bit about Microsoft. I mean, this is kind of an exposure that we've all known about for a long time. According to a new report, however, Microsoft has spent over 30 years building deep ties with China's government. I mean, you can't do business in China without, especially on a large scale, without doing business with the Chinese government. I personally was unwilling to do that. When I was building electric trucks and I invented the electric truck and I patented the key items that make an electric truck possible. That's why you don't see them on the highway, because nobody will pay me for my patent. I own the patent that makes electric trucks possible. I was unwilling to relinquish my intellectual property to China. So I don't do business with them, any business at all, ever. But Microsoft does. And their security apparatus is simultaneously embedding itself in nearly every corner of American federal infrastructure. I mean, Microsoft is everywhere, everywhere. For decades, Americans viewed Microsoft as a pillar of national technology infrastructure. It is. Its systems power everything from federal email to Pentagon cloud networks. A geopolitical analysis firm known as Horizon paints a different picture. The report titled Microsoft in China, an enduring risk profile and the national security implications, reveals the story of a tech giant that spent 30 years cultivating deep ties within the Chinese Communist Party, not just China, and its vast security apparatus, all while embedding itself into nearly every corner of the United States government. And it's true. Now, Linux tried, open source architecture tried, but Microsoft is just too slick. It's too good looking, too beautiful, too easy. And the reckoning began early this year when ProPublica exposed Microsoft's quiet reliance on Chinese-based workers to support sensitive Department of War cloud systems. These workers, described internally as digital escorts, were allowed to assist with troubleshooting and maintenance for U.S. military networks. Pentagon officials publicly labeled the practice a breach of trust. But what were they going to do? Microsoft insisted the offshore support was only for after-hours tasks and claimed no customer data was directly accessible. The tech giant's ties to China stem from long-standing corporate strategy. In 2003, it's a long time ago in computer age, the company granted the China Information Technology Security Evaluation Center. The organization was later identified as operating under China's Ministry of State Security. Always got to have a ministry behind these things, don't you? For years, Chinese authorities were allowed to study the inner workings of the software that underpins American government agencies, critical industries, and private infrastructure. According to the Horizon report, security researchers have since linked at least one major zero-day exploit directly to the visibility China gained through these arrangements. Others are suspected to have benefited from the same access. The result is a pattern in which Chinese state-backed cyber units repeatedly compromise Microsoft products used throughout the U.S. government, often through vulnerabilities that Beijing may have identified earlier than even Microsoft itself. By the time we figured out what they were doing, they were already standing there saying, "Hello, nosy, aren't we?" These ties did not stop at source code. By the way, in 2015, Microsoft entered a joint venture with China Electronics Technology Group, a large state-owned defense conglomerate responsible for supplying key components of China's modern military and intelligence capabilities. The joint venture was tasked with developing a customized version of Windows for government that was used inside China. The move gave the Chinese state a guiding role in shaping the development and deployment of a Windows system specifically modified to its standards. They knew everything that the users were doing, and the users knew nothing about it. Pretty scary stuff, huh? You have nothing to hide. You have nothing to worry about, I suppose. Microsoft's cloud operations in China created yet another gateway for exposure because Chinese law requires foreign cloud services to be operated by a local company, same as we do in this country. Microsoft's Azure system, it means blue, inside China is run entirely by 21 ViaNet, a Chinese firm legally obligated to cooperate with state security authorities. That means China's government has the power to intervene in operations, review infrastructure, and demand compliance. The 21 ViaNet operated system was connected to the same Azure credentialing platform indicated in the 23 cyber attack that breached the email accounts of senior U.S. officials. They just letting us know what they could do anytime they want to do it. Microsoft's commercial decisions have also strengthened China's surveillance state. Chinese companies continue to access OpenAI models through Microsoft's Azure platform, even though OpenAI restricted direct use from inside China. And among the beneficiaries, of course, is a company called BeyondSoft. You may have heard of them. It's a company that serves as a major contractor in China's censorship operations. Not like we're seeing that here in this country. Like, when is the last time I had a tweet that was seen by anybody? Been about 10 years, I suppose. Another is the INESA. It's a state-owned enterprise involved in security monitoring and smart policing technologies. Microsoft's infrastructure both gained access to advanced generative AI systems, and that access has been incorporated into products that support content policing, surveillance, and state-directed information control inside China, not to mention or leave out the cryptocurrency controls. Yes. So AI is manipulating and controlling the mining, use, transference of cryptocurrency. I don't know about you, but I've had my ability to put cash into my Coinbase stopped, and I am unable to transfer any cryptocurrency to anyone. I can cash out to myself, but I can't transfer cryptocurrency to anybody. And that's courtesy of these surveillance and discipline systems trying to stop legitimate companies from doing business. That's the kind of control that Microsoft can exert. And it goes beyond that. I mean, gosh, you remember when Google bought YouTube? They took us all off, right? Me and my associates were banned from YouTube, and all of our content was deleted. Now, it's since been given back, sort of. I don't have my 200,000 followers. I don't have the notifications that I once had. So when I go live on YouTube, what do we have tonight? 28 people. I used to have 5,500 live any night on YouTube. because the notifications would go out and people would sign on and listen. That doesn't happen anymore. And that's just Google. That's just Google. Microsoft is way more powerful than that. After they took me out of YouTube, they also stole all my money in PayPal and closed that account. By the way, that account still remains closed today. They didn't just steal my money. They stole millions of accounts. They just closed them and took the money, and you never saw it again. I had a friend. Now, it didn't permanently disappear. He did manage to get some of it back, but they got him for 65 grand. They didn't get me for that much. I was smart. I knew it was coming. I saw something in the code, and I moved the money into my regular bank. I moved it from PayPal into my regular bank, and that's the only thing that saved most of the money. But here's the real kicker. The real kicker is they shut off my Social Security check for 2 months. For 2 months, no Social Security check. Called, wrote. They didn't know anything about it. They didn't know anything about it. Mysteriously, the third month, my check resumed. Yeah, they just wanted to let me know we're so powerful, we're so everywhere, that if you don't shut your damn mouth, we're going to starve you to death. That's how powerful they are. The company's HoloLens mixed reality technology has found its way into China's defense ecosystem. State media aired footage of a People's Liberation Army Air Force technician using a HoloLens-like system to conduct aircraft maintenance. Microsoft also partnered with G42, an Abu Dhabi-based firm with close ties to China, in AI and in also virtual reality development. Microsoft's research arm in Beijing, which is known as Microsoft Research Asia. If you ever see this building, it's like more than a city block in Beijing, and has long been celebrated as a cradle of China's artificial intelligence talent. Yet, it has also co-authored research in sensitive fields, including the dreaded facial recognition and synthetic media, which Chinese people try to get around it. It's very difficult to do. If you have a scowl on your face or you don't smile enough, the social scoring system will pick it up and it will limit the way you can travel. It'll limit your purchasing. You can't get on a bus, you can't get on a plane, you can't use public transportation. I mean, it's pretty devastating. There are also individuals in China who have developed face jewelry. So most everybody in China has at least 2 cell phones. They have a cell phone that's connected to the system by which they do regular commerce, go to the grocery, buy gas, pay their utilities, all that stuff. But then you have another cell phone that you do your private business in, like you go to a massage parlor or you have a side business or a side hustle. And you wear the face jewelry. It's like a brass circle and maybe a silver square. And it's not like face piercing. It's something you wear on your face. And what it does is it confuses the facial recognition software. So it doesn't see you as you. It sees you as another person. And that person has a different social credit score and has a different cell phone and blah, blah, blah. How do we know this? We discovered it during COVID. When COVID happened, there was something like 30 million cell phones disappeared. And it wasn't 30 million people died. It was 30 million people lost the second cell phone. The second cell phone went inoperative. Yeah, Chinese people figure out a way how to get around it. And they're very secretive about it. They have to be because the government's everywhere. It's all powerful. These collaborations continued even as Microsoft publicly claimed to have imposed limits on the kinds of research the MSRA can conduct. And they still get around that. The laboratory remains active and continues to recruit for work on large language models, computer vision, and other strategically sensitive areas inside China's borders. Also, according to Horizon's report, these patterns reveal a vulnerability built not through espionage alone, but it's through the private corporations, through the years of corporate decisions that tied America's most widespread software ecosystem to a hostile foreign power. And this is a battle. It's a battle. It's what I talk about in my books, Charm of Favor and Glance of Angels. Sophia, the good AI, going to war with the evil AI that's operated by the older, more dominant global syndicate. That system's real. Read the books. You'll understand what's at risk here. All right. Let's let me just share one thing with you. 12 hours from now, well, actually 11 hours from now, I'm going to have my heart shocked. Okay. I'm of the age, most all of you are going to be affected by this. You get AFib, where your heart rhythm isn't what it's supposed to be. And there's a treatment where they knock you out and then they, shock your heart. And what it does is sort of Control-Alt-Delete, restarts the heart, and the heart tissues operate in the right direction. It's about 80% effective and has very little risk, so don't worry about me. But people that have this procedure done, it's called a cardioversion, feel 20 years younger because the heart's now all moving in the right direction. You remember the movie Kill Bill? You remember that? And you remember the secret weapon that Uma Thurman used against David Carradine in the last scene of the movie? She hits him a certain way, and his heart runs backwards, and he ends up dying. Well, that's what AFib is. AFib is your heart, not all the heart's working in the right direction. So some of the blood's going one way, some of the blood's going the other way, and it's what's called the ejection ratio. Normally, hearts are about 50 to 60% ejection ratio. That is to say, the amount of blood coming in the heart, pumping out, is 50 to 60%. When you have AFib, that drops to 40%, 30%. And if you operate around 30%, you can get by. You can get by. You just kind of contribute it to age. You're like, oh, geez, I'm out of shape. I can't run a mile anymore. Hell, you can't even run up the stairs anymore. And that's called the ejection ratio. So what we're trying to do is get the ejection ratio back up above 50%, which is where it was when I was strong and virile. And I feel good. I feel great, but I don't have the endurance that I had, and I want it back. So that's why we're going in tomorrow. So those of you concerned about that, if you want to say a prayer, it will be most appreciated, because I know the prayers of a righteous man availeth much. Some of you are better than others, but that's okay, because the most powerful prayer is when you pray for someone else. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the ice storm coming. Wow. Yes, up in Minnesota, they get ice storms. I have been in many blizzards up there when I lived in East Grand Forks. It was right on the border of North Dakota and Minnesota. It's cold as crap up there in the wintertime. I made a winter up there, and I said, now I know what winter's all about. I will never complain about winter anywhere else because of this winter. I was stationed at the tropical paradise of Grand Forks, North Dakota. Thank you very much. But that's not the kind of ice I'm talking about. Immigration and customs enforcement operations are going after the Somalis. They're going after the Somali immigrants up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. The enhanced action comes a day after President Trump said, I don't want Somalis in our country. Barack Obama brought them over. concentrated them in an area of Minnesota, so much so that they controlled the political landscape, and they elected Ms. Ilhan Omar, who claims she was a refugee, and I suppose in a sense of the word she was, because her family was the ruling class in Somalia. Her family was the ruling class in Somalia. And the reason she was a refugee is because the Somali people wanted her and her family dead. Yeah, they were so corrupt. They were stealing money so much from the Somali people that the Somali people were about to rise up and behead them all. So they escaped, and they came through Obama's program to Minneapolis and just assumed power. And that's why Ilhan Omar is so comfortable in that position of aristocracy. Well, she's claiming she can't be deported because she's an American citizen, but she's a naturalized American citizen, and all that could be reversed and wiped away. So last week in a Thanksgiving post, where he also called Governor Tim Walz a slur for people with intellectual disabilities, which we know as a retard, Mr. Trump said Somali refugees are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota, and it is true, and they've stolen so much money. Mr. Trump also previously ordered that all green card holders from Somalia and more than a dozen other countries are re-examined, adding that he would end the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota that was put in place by Barack Obama. A U.S. official on Tuesday said ICE was planning to surge resources to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, targeting individuals with deportation orders. Hundreds of people were expected to be targeted, a person familiar with the planning said. Hundreds of ICE agents have already arrived as I'm on the air tonight. Federal officials from all across President Donald Trump's administration have become increasingly focused on Minnesota and its Somali community, which is the largest American Somali population in the country. That has largely been because of programs like America Free Radio, who are calling attention to massive, and I mean billion-dollar levels of fraud that have occurred through the Somali community in Minnesota. Totally fake organizations that have gathered almost $2 billion, a lot of money for a little state like Minnesota, a lot. $2 billion, and exported it to terrorist organizations like Al-Shabaab. Do you know how far $2 billion goes in a country like Somalia? I shudder to think. It's a long way. It's a long way. They've stole billions of dollars from Minnesota. They formed organizations called Feeding Our Future. It was a total fraud. They didn't feed anybody. They didn't have any real names. All it was generated by AI. Federal prosecutors put the estimated loss in those cases, just those cases, close to $300 million. Factoring in other statewide fraud cases, a U.S. attorney acknowledged the scope of fraud could exceed $1 billion, and now we have information that it could exceed $2 billion. And that means that the Minnesota government is taking a cut. And when we see Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, attacking, prosecuting, jailing whistleblowers, and we also see that when he does get additional federal funding, he immediately hires more of the same kind of corrupt people to create that bureaucratic barrier. So that when you go to prosecute, you have to go to this office and that office and get. It's sort of like in the movie A Jupiter Ascending, when you go to the planet with all the bureaucracies. First, you have to get this, and first you have to get that, and first you have, and then this, and then that, and then you have to wait 30 days. That's what Tim Walz has created. He's created that bureaucracy. There are 80 defendants that are Somali. Most are U.S. citizens in the country legally, and the founder of Feeding Our Future, whom prosecutors call the ringleader, is actually white. And last week, Trump directed the Department of Homeland Security to reconsider temporary protected status for the Somali people, affecting about 700 Somali nationals living in the U.S. The last count from Minnesota Compass shows nearly 80,000 Somali residents in Minnesota, roughly 1.3% of the state's population. So fewer than 1% of those 80,000 residents have TPS, temporary protective status. That means the vast majority of legal citizens, and over half, were born in the U.S., according to U.S. Census Bureau, which makes them natural American citizens, impossible to deport. But where the fraud comes in is all the inbreeding and marrying your sister and your cousin and all that stuff to beat the immigration system. And what they say is, we, the Somali community, are always against anyone who is breaking the law, and we would be supportive to treat those criminals the way they should be. We don't have anything against that. But I mean, this is a large community, and I don't think it's fair that we just characterize or just put a blanket on all of them to say that these are elements of criminals. Now, maybe there's a point there, because Ilhan Omar and her family were criminals in Somalia. They were criminals there, and they were being chased, and they were being prosecuted, and they were going to be put at room temperature if they didn't escape. And so they escaped through Barack Obama's program and came to Minnesota and continued their aristocratic ways. Abdullahi Kahie, a Hopkins man originally from Kenya, was visiting a Somali friend in Cedar Riverside on Wednesday afternoon. The president called the entire community garbage. We're not garbage, and we shouldn't accept that. When asked if he thinks people are afraid now, he said, of course, because of this narrative, the fear-based narrative is going to damage our community, and people are concerned about that. They fear, they're concerned about it, what is happening. Just the president is targeting one ethnic community this time. They don't know what's going on. They don't know why they're being targeted. A restaurant worker in Cedar Riverside, who asked if to remain anonymous, of course, said, I've seen more people shaken up. Like, I guess business has been slow because people have been seeing it mostly. I feel like they don't want to be outside anymore. And mostly when you go outside, I feel like that's when the ICE agents might go outside as well. Homeland Security's website lists a do not travel advisory for Somalia due to safety concerns amid ongoing civil war and political instability involving terrorist groups. That was a key reason Somalia first received the temporary protective status in the first place more than 30 years ago in 1991. And Barack Obama saw an opportunity and brought the aristocracy here to continue their operations. So when I say there's an ice storm getting ready to happen in Minnesota, that's what I'm talking about. ICE agents are going to show up, and they're going to be going after these people that have deportation orders. They're definitely going to go after these people that have been violating and have stolen this money. Now, I would like to see them get the money back. I would like to see them go to Somalia, go to Al-Shabaab, and get the money back. It's got to be sitting in some account somewhere, making some warlord all-powerful, buying weapons or bribing of government officials or something. They've got to be able to find that money and bring it back. And that's kind of what it's all about, right? Right? 5-figure death punch, whatever. Yeah, I will be open to your prayers tomorrow morning. No problem. I got to be there at 7. They're going to do their little thing at 8:30. It's no risk of dying or anything. It's just a Control-Alt-Delete thing that they do with the heart, and the heart seems to respond well to it. 80% of the time. We hope that I'm one of the 80%. If not, there's another procedure, which is called laser ablation. That's where they go in with a catheter and they actually kill the tissue that's the heart tissue that's issuing the erroneous signal. So it wants to all beat in the same direction and cause the ejection to happen. You got to kill the tissues that are pumping it in the wrong direction because they're just thinking on their own, right? Heart tissue has its own like spontaneous rhythm that occurs, and that's how the AFib actually occurs. Of course, it doesn't happen to everybody, but I'd say 30%, that's a big number, but 30% of the people that are out there walking around, breathing and moving and doing shit are in AFib and they don't even know it. If they had an EKG done and they looked at their actual, heart pattern, they would see it. But who does that? I mean, if you don't feel bad, you don't do it. What happened to me, of course, is in a very short amount of time, a bunch of water piled on my body. And I mean, a short amount of time, like 75 days or something like that, I gained 40 pounds. It was a crazy amount of water. And it packs on everywhere. And of course, the issue is that the water gets in the way with your breathing because, your lungs, I know you may not know this, but your lungs are actually on the inside of your body. Yeah. And so when water takes up the space, you can't take a full breath. Hell, you watched it right here on this program. You watched me. And that stressed the heart, which caused the AFib to go into place. So the very first thing was to get the 40 pounds of water off me. And for that, you just have to take diuretics. You take a drug, it's called a pee pill, I suppose, and it starts dumping all the water off of you. So that's a good thing. All that water's gone. I'm back down to pretty close to my fighting weight. Another 5 pounds and I'll be there. And maybe that 5 pounds is actual weight, but all the water's gone. I can breathe normally. I can lay down. I can do all the stuff that normal bodies can do. The AFib is almost gone. The issue is there's a missing P wave right before the ventricular contraction. That's a sort of a setup wave for the ventricle to do what it's supposed to do. And that's what's lowered my ejection rate. So we're going to try to reboot that with electricity. It's a very common procedure. It's well done and well documented here in Charlotte, one of the best places in the country to do it. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I'm one of the 80% and it works just fine. And we start rebuilding the strength. I'll be back in the gym, and before long, we will be active in more ways than one. Let's see here. Yeah, Willie Fix It. I remember Black Hawk Down. That's how quickly things can decay in Somalia, for sure. We think we can go over there and our superior, helicopter technology will prevail, but not when you're being blasted by RPGs from every angle. Eventually, you're going to get hit. What is this? I believe that, JJ, that I'm going to be fine. Absolutely. I am the cure. JCW says refugee from her family. No, not really the case. No, the Omar family was the aristocrats in Somalia. Yeah, they were in trouble. They were being run out because they were corrupt. So in a sense, she was a refugee. Yes, she was going to probably, along with her family, end up at room temperature because the people had had enough. The people had enough and they were starving, and the Omars were not. And so when they came to Minnesota, they saw an opportunity, sort of like, what is that movie? Oh, Alien Nation. You remember the movie Alien Nation? When the melon heads came here to Earth and they learned English and they became cops, and there's a lot of prejudice against them. But inside that community, of alien nation, there were overlords. You remember those guys? That's kind of what it's like. The Somalis, like Omar, were the overlords, and they came to Somalia and used their imamish abilities. What's an imam? An imam is like a Sadducee. Okay, a Sadducee. They're experts in language. They know how to confuse. They know how to use the art of semantics to not only say what they want to say, but to undo what you said. To undo what you said. That's why every single time something is, an accusation is made against Ilhan Omar, she's able to spin it to something against brown people, something against women, something against Somalis. I mean, when you can run your campaign in Somali and win, you don't have to speak English. All of your money, campaign money, your votes and everything comes from Somalis. You're basically the congresswoman from Somalia, right? You're able to use that aristocracy to take advantage of an uneducated people, which basically the Somalis are. They have, populationally, that is to say, their demographic is a lower IQ. It is a lower IQ, like in the 40 to 60 range. The reason that it is so low is because of generations and generations and generations of inbreeding. Brothers and sisters, fathers and daughters, first cousins. You just don't come out of that easily. You need outside blood in order to stimulate normal emotional and brain activity. And that's what we're seeing in the Somali community. And the reason we see it in that community is because they stay in that community. They don't vary out of it. We see the same thing. We see the same thing in other demographics too. But we get to watch it as a microcosm inside this country because there's only about 90,000 of them. They've been here since, the mid 90s. And Barack Obama came on the scene in 2008. Moved a bunch of them over and took advantage of the temporary protective status and put them in specifically so he could take over Minnesota. And it was tried everywhere else too. Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco. Illegals were brought in, concentrated in that area, provided the right to vote, and that's how they took over. And they maintained power. Look at California. I'm from California originally. I've been there since I was 17 as a resident, but look at California. It's red. It's red as red can be from the northern border all the way to San Diego. It's red as red can be. You have lots of entrepreneurs. You have lots of conservatives there. Orange County is as red as it can be. You could see Trump flags from one end to the other. And yet they don't win. They don't win because there are almost zero Democrats, zero Republicans in the election infrastructure. It's all run by Democrats. It's all fraud. It's all cheating. And that's what's kept the official governorship or the governing of California blue. That's why you have Mayor Karen. That's why you have Adolph Newsom. You have that because of the corrupt Democrat infrastructure in the election system. Republicans can't get a foothold because they don't have a say. They can't get their vote to count. And that's because of this infiltration. Now, sooner or later, the people are going to have enough of it. I don't know what they can do about it. I mean, first you have to elect assemblymen, and then you have to elect delegates, and then you've got to do it the right way, but it could take a long time. Anytime a communication system is set up, a funding system is set up, whether it's a GoFundMe or some kind of local meeting where you're gathering donations, the Democrats infiltrate, move in, and take it apart. Right? I mean, look at the Palisades. I grew up in the Palisades. I surfed in that area. I skateboarded in that area. I grew up there. All my teen years are right there in the Palisades. The fact that these people cannot rebuild their homes is a direct reflection of these Democrat policies. The fact that there were no fewer than 5 Ukrainian generals who owned mansions that burned down in the Palisades gives you an idea what the corruption, the money, and where it comes from, and who's ruling what. And Karen is preventing these people from rebuilding their houses so that they can't live there. And if they can't live there, they can't vote there. And now you know why they're supporting the illegal community and not the historic community that has been the conservatives and the Republicans that have lived there since the 20s. Wow. My daughter's best girlfriend was near the gate in Afghanistan when it blew up. Thank God Sarah made it out alive. That's old lace. Yeah, we all, we're just a couple people removed from a lot of these situations. We're like Forrest Gump, to be there and to watch it happen. I don't know. I don't know if Biden was actually running. I don't think he was. I look at all the evidence and I see that Biden was just a bystander. He was just, that's why he lost a couple times before, because he just couldn't put the leadership together. Now, he was corrupt, no doubt about that. I mean, he could access the money, he could make the deals, he could blackmail people, he could extort people, because he's always been in government and had the handles in his hands. But as far as running our government, he couldn't do it. Remember the whistleblower that said, Biden had only been inaugurated for 5 days. 5 days. And they were already using the auto pen to sign legislation and to sign executive orders and to make appointments. 5 days. And they just kept using it. They just kept using it. Well, the whistleblower that came out and said that you thought would have opened the floodgates. Oh, yeah, we used the auto pen too. Oh, yeah, we did too. They killed her. They killed her dead. And you haven't heard any more whistleblowers coming forward, because they don't want the Biden administration taken down at the expense of their life. They're somebody's grandma. They're somebody's uncle. They're somebody's brother. When you have your life threatened like that, you shut the hell up. Let somebody else do it. Dad, don't be a hero. Mom, don't be a hero. Grandma, don't be a hero. Look what happened to her. They killed her. They went to her house and they killed her. They can do anything. They can murder anyone at any time. Shut your mouth. It's water under the bridge. Let it go. Yeah, that's a sad thing. That's why I guess I have so much confidence in Donald Trump. And the man has had so many cabinet meetings. And if you watch the televised cabinet meetings and you listen to the cabinet members give their reports, like, this is what we got done, this is what we didn't get done, here's what's standing in our way, and here's what we hope to get done. It's amazing. It's amazing, this reporting system. It's amazing, this sunlight that's on the system. And all you have to do is listen, and you go, oh my God, this is the way to run a government. Yeah, there's Tina Peters too. Tina Peters was not only a whistleblower, she captured the corruption. She captured the drives. She saved them and said, oh yeah, your voting result is different than the actual voting result, and I'm going to capture the actual voting result. So what they do, they put her in prison. They gagged her and they put her in prison and they froze all that information. Yeah, Tina Peters needs to be pardoned and all that needs to come out. Yeah, I believe Trump is fearless. I kind of wish he would stay focused. I get a little frustrated with things like the wall. We talked about this last night on Toxically Masculine Tuesday. One of the things that turned me to Trump, because I was a Cruz supporter back in 2016, I went to rallies and listened to him speak and met him. Yes, he was a politician, no doubt about it, and questions that I asked him were spiraled off. But I was still a Cruz supporter. I thought he was the premier statesman of our day. I still do. But when Trump said, when they asked him about the wall, what are you going to do about all the illegals that are here already that all came in? He said, well, we have laws. We have laws. Once the border is secure, we need to deport all these people. And the newscaster could not believe her ears. It was like, what the fuck did you just say? And he didn't mince words. We're going to build a wall 30 feet high. It's going to be big and beautiful. We're accepting designs right now. And when he got elected, they started building it. And the Democrats stopped him. They figured out a way to tie up the money and they stopped him. They used judges and they stopped him. Well, a lot of that wall parts got constructed and got stacked on the ground. Biden tried to get rid of it. Trump got it back as soon as he was elected. But the wall's not going up. The wall's not going up. There are no news reports anywhere of a single section of that wall going up. Not in Texas, not in Arizona, not in New Mexico, not along the border, anywhere. Nowhere. And I'm thinking to myself, why? You have the money, you have the parts. I promise you, President Trump, if you're listening to this program tonight, I could build that wall from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to the Pacific Ocean in your term, before your term is up, and I will do it for free. I will do it for just my Social Security pay. I don't need any money to do it. Just give me the authority to move the contractors and make it happen. I promise you I could have it finished. The whole thing, all of it, with the gates. Nobody is going to get through it. We'll make modifications to it if we have to. Yeah. Well, it isn't happening. And that's put me a little bit in the Marjorie Taylor Greene camp. And I don't blame her for quitting. She's young. She's got the rest of her life in front of her. They've threatened to kill her so many times. They've tried to kill her so many times. And she said, I'm not doing it. I don't have the support. And once President Trump withdrew his support from her for her undying faith on the floor, 24 hours a day, helping him. Once he betrayed her, she said, what's the purpose? Why should I stay? I'll just stay until they kill me? No, thank you. I'm out of here. No. She's not the first. Jason Chaffetz quit. Matt Gaetz quit. I mean, these are serious, hardworking, dedicated MAGA workers. And they quit because they could not get the support of the president. They could not get the support of you and me. They made criminal referrals. They exposed people. They were bold. And where are they now? They're out. They're Fox News contributors at best, which is no more than Pam Bondi, I suppose. It's got to happen. It has to happen. And we'll keep screaming until it does happen, because evidently it's us screaming that does make it happen. Right? All right. This is America Free Radio. My name is Brooks Agnew. Please share that if you feel open-minded to do it. Everything we do will eventually affect the universe, so do it on purpose. Do it on purpose. Go out and look for the good in people and help it to grow a little bit every day, and before long, you'll have saved the planet. That's how it works. That's how it works. Don't be a bystander right now. We don't need bystanders. We need participants. The vote is over. The elections are over. The midterms are coming up in a year. We have a lot of work to do, but most of it is staying vigilant and not giving up. Okay? So do your best, do great things, and keep writing. I love the letters. Thank you, JJ. Thanks, Boy Dogs, too. I will look forward to seeing you all in the prayer world in the morning when they put me under. But I'll be back, I promise. Nothing's going to happen to me. This is Brooks Agnew saying peace, Earth Explorers. Now go and do great things. We'll see you.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.